So spring is finally in full swing. I know it's May, but things have been growing explosively in my conservatory. Stick around with me in this video and let me show you some exciting updates on some of your favorite plants. Hi, my name is Memo, this is my channel, Houseplantygoodness, and essentially it's a place where I like to geek out about my big passion. You might be able to see some of it behind me, it's tropical houseplants. So today's video I thought I'd give you a bit of an update on some of the plants because we've got a lot of growth going on in the conservatory at the moment, which is truly exciting. Some newer plants, some older plants. I've got, oh, and also, I was going to say I've got loads of surprises for you, but I've also got a relatively major surprise. Based on the video that I did about weird and unusual plants recently, there's a certain plant that I featured which I did not own, which was a native to New Zealand. And I have just literally this morning went to the garden centre that I keep talking about, and I'll put it up the top there because I know people, I'm not gatekeeper, but I'll put it at the top there. And they had it in the garden section, which I didn't think I could grow it in the garden, but enough about that. I'll dive into it a bit more. But yes, thought I'd give you a bit of more of an update on the conservatory and the plant growth. But before we do that, just a quick apology for not having a second video last week. So the people that might have seen on my Instagram or on the community section on my YouTube channel, I had to go up to Scotland. My best friend was getting married and I was best man at her wedding. So nerve-wracking as it was with the speech, it all went really well. Beautiful, beautiful day. And I've never been to the Isle of Arran, which is kind of off the coast of, kind of quite close to Glasgow, which was amazing. So that was an epic 13-hour journey there and 13-hour journey back for like 3 days, but it was well worth it basically. But I do actually have some clips that I took from a botanical centre that we went to whilst I was there, and hopefully I'll add it kind of as a bit of a B-roll at the end of this video. If you do want to watch it, it's going to be at the very end. If not, I completely understand. There were some tropical plants which I was really surprised, some like tree ferns that were growing in Scotland outside, but yeah, really, really interesting. Also a bit of a forward apology because I doubt there's going to be more than just this one video. I think this is probably going to come out on Thursday, which for the people that have might been here for a while, Thursday the 9th of May is also my birthday and I am turning 40 this year. So yes, unfortunately I'm only going to be able to film one video today because, yeah, it was a bank holiday weekend this weekend and a lot of things happened in the allotment and the garden, so I am beyond exhausted and I've only got like a very short period of time today to film and edit because I'm also doing a short week this week because for the people that might not know, I am going up to, I think it's up from here, yeah, Malvern for the RHS Spring Festival where there's going to be a houseplant festival for the first year this year, and I'm going to be talking. If you are planning on going and you've already got your tickets, please do come and say hello. If you're thinking of going but you still haven't got your tickets, from pretty much at the moment, I'll also post it on my Instagram and on YouTube communities today because the discount starts as today. They've given me a bit of a discount code for all of you. I think it's 10% off for your tickets, and I think it's valid for just this week, basically. So yes, I will put links to that down below in the description, and I'll also, as I said, update everything else. But enough of the housekeeping, let's have a look at some plants. So the first little plant that I wanted to show you is one that is bouncing back quite nicely, and this is my Alocasia brancifolia, I think it is. I don't think there's another name for it, but it's doing really well. Remember, this was one that was struggling a lot. I had it in semi-hydro. I've put it back in soil. I think with my alocasias, I know a lot of people have great success growing them in semi-hydro, and you can see some of the roots hopefully there. I've not. I've never had any success with any of my alocasias or colocasias in semi-hydro, but I've always had great success in soil, so a lot of them I'm just transitioning back to soil. It just makes my life a bit easier. It didn't work for me. I still have a lot of my Anthuriums, I think all of my Anthuriums in semi-hydro, so that does work for me. And talking about Anthuriums, looky, So for the people that have been around for the journey of this plant from my most recent Ecuagenera purchase, and I'll bring it up so you can see that leaf, it's still kind of unfurling and it's still very juvenile. This was the struggle bus that was the Anthurium argyrostachyum, yeah? Argyrostachyum, yeah. So what I did is I removed it out because there was still a lot of root rot. I removed it out of the semi-hydro that I had, and even though you might be able to see some pebbles that are happening in here that are semi-hydro, I have actually just put damp sphagnum moss in, and that was the original kind of struggling, the last remaining leaf, but it brought out a new leaf, and it's doing okay. It's doing okay is the best that I can say about it right now. I still can't see any new rootage growing yet through the medium. Ooh, maybe, ooh, I lie, I saw a root. So it is getting a bit happier. And again, reason why I purchased this in winter is I wanted to see how some of these plants would transport in the winter, in the coldest months, but also an unexpected, I don't know why it's an unexpected, I just wasn't thinking ahead. Getting something like this towards the end, getting it delivered from like international imports, basically, getting it delivered as long as it's semi-demi okay, and getting it delivered just on that cusp between winter and the beginning of spring, at least in my experience, gives it the best chance of kind of bouncing back because you're going into the growing season, the conditions start becoming really favorable. I know a lot of us are actually used to buying plants in the kind of warmer months, and that is good because it means that there's not as much stress from the winter and all of these things when it's being shipped to you. However, I will say something that I have noticed, the difference between my usual purchases in the warmer months and this one in the colder months is the bounce back from the colder months coming into spring was so much faster. Well, so ironically enough, when I tend to get my plants in, say, summer, if any of them are struggling, yes, they do have a chance to kind of bounce back a tiny bit. But then what happens is they almost kind of go into a dormancy period because winter's kind of just around the corner. So I then have to wait even longer for them to put out new growth. Whilst this time around, I have noticed that the growth is explosive. And on that point, let me show you another plant from that order. Ta-da! The Anthurium lanceolata? No, flavolineatum. Lanceolata, I'm going to show you in a minute, basically. But yes, remember this one that had the tiny, tiny roots? It has grown substantial roots, has come down the bottom. I do need to take this out of sphagnum moss at the moment. And I don't know whether or not this is going to pick up on the camera. Hopefully it will. You might be able to if I tilt it and move that away. Can you see those two little pinkish roots that are going down from the sphagnum moss? Us is doing really, really well. Do I need to repot this into a proper growing media? Yes. Is this going to happen this week? Probably not. I'll have to wait until I'm back from the event, the RHS event, because I kind of want to be around and be a hovering plant parent, which I know is not necessarily always a good thing, but I've got somebody who's taking care of Duke and the chickens and the lizards, and I'm not going to get them to take care of the plants, I don't think, this time, because I'm only away for the weekend, and my plants should be robust enough to survive the weekend. I'm not... they're fine. But I kind of want to be around to watch it, and I think if I do it now, I'll be worrying how this is doing whilst it's transitioned into that new growing media, but it is doing very well. The leaves are very turgid, so that is really, really good, and it's growing really, really nicely. I'm loving the fact that I'm not the only one that got excited from this. I know from the kind of couple of update videos and the first video, there's a lot of people that were quite keen on this plant. So yes, beautiful, beautiful plant. Another plant from that purchase. I don't think this is going to be an update from just the Ecuagenera order, but yeah, that is the newest leaf in the, oh, why am I forgetting? The recavum. And I know this is one that a lot of you were saying, oh, it's very, very similar to the Anthurium esmeraldense. And yes, can you see the shine? I have done nothing to this leaf. It is just shining on its own. Now, the one thing I will say, somebody did message me who has got this plant, and they were saying they were super glad that I got it because it was such an underrated plant. And they did say, watch out for the new leaf coming in, and it's just, oh, it's really like dark and unctuous. Oh, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't take a picture. But the next one, I promise, I will get a picture so I can actually update you on what that looks like. But then you might be able to get hints of it if I show you the back, maybe. This comes out a dark chocolatey color that's almost black when it comes out. It's such a dark, dark kind of young leaf, and oh, man, look at those ripples. Oh, I still love this plant, and I'm still quite glad I got it. I know, very, very similar to the Anthurium esmeraldens, and I don't think any of it is coming up. You might be able to see it right there, where my hand is. That is a new leaf of my Anthurium esmeraldens, and based on how sizable the previous ones were, I'm assuming that's going to be even more sizable. Now, if I compare this, so I don't know whether or not you can see, the ripples are going diagonally on this one, whilst the Anthurium esmeraldens tend to be more horizontally, so more similar to the Philodendron esmeraldens that is right here. So that is the big difference for me. This one has got red backs when it comes out, this one doesn't. So yeah, it's a bit of a different plant, but so far, growing really, really well. I'm like, highly recommend this. Also, before I put this down, I have heard all of you. I was thinking I might be able to do my this or that Anthurium video for this one, but I kind of want to do it justice, and I'm not going to have an awful lot of time for either filming or editing this video, so please go easy on me. But that one I want to give my full attention to, and I want to do a proper long video because I have a lot of Anthuriums and I have a lot of opinions about this or that. Again, my opinions, but hopefully it'll give you some insight if you're thinking about getting any of the ones that I own, and it will be a this or that, and also giving you some of my experiences with those Anthuriums. Right, the other little update, and for the people that have seen my Monstera obliqua Peru review video, this is me eating my words, I think that's the expression. So Monstera obliqua Peru, this was the second one that I bought, the one that was in soil and remained in an arrowed soil mix. This has got my new moss pole attached to it, and whether or not this is going to come up, it might do. Right there, you might be able to see, right there, is a new leaf, and it has not put out a single runner since I've put it on a moss pole. So yes, everybody that was saying that this plant definitely needs a moss pole, could not agree with you more. Now I've got my other one which is a bit harder to move, which is in semi-hydro, which was the first one that I got, which I think was that one. That might have been from Ecuagenera. That one that has always thrown out runners. That one I have also put on a moss pole, and that one is also getting a leaf now instead of a runner. So, ta-da! They're still painfully slow. I'm gonna just say that. Also, I have got, like, remember when I was saying that I put in some of the runners into a propagation box? Guess what? There was a lot of cuttings, most of them did not take, but I've got at least 2 that I can see that have come up as little plantlets. The actual wet stick kind of running nodes have actually activated, and I've got 2 little ones. So those eventually will be put into their own little pots. What might happen at some point is if I get them all to be relatively happy, I might end up just transitioning all of my obliquas into one pot and just have a very large obliqua. Again, for the people that have been like dealing with like plants and rare houseplants for a while, the fact that we can now say we've got multiple obliquas and we can put them in a pot and make a big obliqua, even 2 or 3 years ago, that would have been insanity basically to talk like that. So really, really well, really, really well. And the other little update that I want to give on my moss poles, and again, I'll link the video of me creating the moss poles and how I do them. Ignore the little leaf that is shaking, but and the need for me to have the fan is high because it's warm in here. And the last couple of videos that I did, the camera was overheating, so yes. But yes, the update on the moss poles is, so far, everything that has got my moss pole attached to it is doing really, really well. That combination of soil in the back or an arrowed mix in the back and the sphagnum moss in the front has worked a charm. And yeah, like everything is loving life that has got that basically at the moment. Another example of how moss poles have actually helped some of my plants that were struggling. Now, yes, I'm eating humble pie, and yes, I'm chewing on eating my words, that's the expression. Please bear with me, I'm not a native English speaker technically, so I'm not saying that for the... Anybody who's like from Greece and is a friend of mine, they know that my Greek isn't much better, so just a bit poo. This is my Philodendron tenue. Tenue. And for the people that have been here for a while, they know that I've been struggling to get this to size up, and a lot of people in Australia were like doing really well in terms of getting it to size up. This is the largest leaf I've ever had Guess what has changed? This was also, by the way, the propagation, that top cut propagation that I talked about in another video, and it's been in soil and it's already sizing up and it's already attaching to the moss pole. It is dripping wet because this got watered yesterday, but it is loving life. And what I was saying before, yes, I will eat humble pie in terms of saying that, yes, some plants desperately need moss pole, not all of them basically. And I will say, like, for instance, I keep using it as an example because it is an example, it is a good example, words. My Philodendron esmeraldense is one that really doesn't need a moss pole. It will quite happily, as long as you give it some form of a stick or a janky support stick to grow up, it's fine. And I know that there's a lot of you out there that either discovered my channel or like my channel because I never used to do moss poles and janky support sticks. I've still got loads of my plants on janky support sticks. That's not going to change. And I still stand by the fact that a lot of these plants, not all of them, can grow quite happily as long as you give them some support. Because let's be honest, I'll refresh your memory on looking at my mum's plant collection when I went there. Old milk jugs to use to water and all of these things. Like, people have been growing houseplants for years. Do you think everybody was sitting there making these really like convoluted, complex moss poles? No, their plants still grew huge. It's fine. It's just a bit of patience. It's coming from you, which has no patience. Also, a little side note is I know I did see one or two people commented that possibly sometimes when I muddle up my words is because I talk too fast or I don't enunciate. The response to that is I speak fast in any language. I find it really hard to slow down. If it gets ridiculous and it causes too many people issues, let me know and I will try to improve. But trust me, my teachers from all my schooling years have been trying to get me to slow down. I will also say again, if I've got any Greeks that are watching out there, I'm not that fast in relation to a lot of Greeks when we speak. We can speak very fast. I will also give the example of a lot of my Spanish friends. Speed. So yes, hopefully that's okay. But yeah, the other thing I was going to mention actually about moss poles, before I forget, I'm all over the place today, but it's like, I feel these videos when I haven't done my usual 2 videos, I feel, you know, that exciting moment where you meet up with a friend that you haven't seen for like a long time basically, and you both just go, this happened to me, this happened to me, and you kind of do a download of what's happened since the last time you've met each other, and then you get on with life. I feel that these videos are just me being a bit excited to talk to friends again, basically. So yeah, apologies for the sheer level of like manicness that is happening. And an example of manicness, I've lost my track of what I was going to say. Oh yes, on the point of moss poles is there is a few Anthuriums that I will say that I have discovered, and again, I will kind of talk a bit more about them in my this or that Anthurium video that do desperately need a moss pole. And it's interesting because I kept buying Anthuriums because I'm just like, oh, they don't need moss poles. Some of them do. So in order to live their best life. So there is that to kind of add as a bit of a caveat. Next plant that is loving life at the moment is my Monstera esqueleto. Oh man, look at that leaf. Well, they're saying that though. Some of my Adansonii are kind of getting to almost the same size. This can get a lot larger than even the Adansonii can, but yeah, this is doing really well. And this one is one of the plants that, at least in my experience in here, in the winter, it pretty much crawled down to doing nothing. So take that and understand what you want from it, basically. It might just be my experience. Moss pole, has this done anything to the moss pole? No. I don't know if anybody else has this problem where you put a plant on and you make sure that if there's a tiny aerial root, you get it so it attaches to the moss pole, and then it decides, no, you know how you put the moss pole here? I'm going to throw all the aerial roots in another direction. So I'm having to put like a sphagnum moss collar around it just so I can hopefully guide that aerial root into the moss pole, but I'm assuming what's going to happen with the sphagnum moss collar is going to go down. So, is it just me? I'm hoping this is not just me. I'm assuming other people might have had the same experience. Let me know in the comments down below, because it's so frustrating. Now this is a plant that I haven't shown for a while, and I got this last summer, I think, and this was a Grow Tropicals purchase. I want to say Drimiopsis, but I will see if I can find the name and put it at the very top there. This has got very cool leaves, and hopefully that will pick up. Can you see the little polka dotting that's happening with the dark green on there? It's really interesting because I think pretty much this is more or less considered a succulent. It's got little oniony type bulblets at the bottom, and then you get like leaves coming out of them, and you might be able to see, if I bring it in a bit closer, can you see those stems? They're also kind of zebra print. So it's giving the whole of Lion King. Very, very, very cool. But this is also a plant that pretty much went down to maybe 1 or 2 leaves in the winter. And this is something that is very clear on a lot of websites when you're buying this plant, is that it does have a dormancy stage over the winter, and it will kind of almost go back to nothing, basically. I think you can also grow this in the ground in the UK, outside. I might be wrong. If anybody knows, let us know in the comments. Very, very, very cool plant. Cannot tell you how excited I am to have this one back in my life and in full foliage again. Shall we look at some colocasias? There's not very much, but it's very exciting still. This is my Colocasia. It's still, this is its first proper leaf. This is the Colocasia Pharaoh's mask. It's not doing the Pharaoh mask thing just yet, but there is a new leaf that is growing from the secondary growth point. So these are the extra bits that happen. So I don't want to, oh no, it was fine. It was fine. I got it out without ripping the leaf. I shouldn't have done that, but you know, it's like an itch that you need to scratch. This one is not coming from the same growth point as this, so the next leaf of this hopefully should be sizing up even more. Oh, beautiful. And these were from Farmer Gracie. So these are going to go and live in my garden in the summer. So I'm just waiting for the weather to get a tiny bit warmer, and these will be moving out. This was one of them. And this, again, I bought it as Colocasia Black Magic. And you can see it's like a dark green. And this one here, and there's another little growth point here. They did this time round, because that was the controversy with my old Black Magic. People were just like, is it a black coral instead of a Black Magic? There was a lot of chatter going around whether or not, when Farmer Gracie had first brought in the Black Magics, whether or not they were truly black corals instead of Black Magics, and they were selling them as Black Magics. I will not lay claim to that. I am just regurgitating kind of hearsay. But I don't know, because I didn't order a black coral this time around. I ordered another Black Magic, but they had 2 different ones. So anybody who's grown Black Magic, let me know if this is kind of more along those lines. This is very, very matte. And looking at this now, maybe I did have the black coral, because I don't think it was this matte that was coming on. So this one's doing really well as well. Again, this is all going to go and live in the garden. And then the piece de resistance. My Caladium Spring Fling is, and can you see the shadow of my hand behind that leaf? I just adore this Caladium. And it's getting larger and larger. You can see the leaves when they come in are like a beautiful kind of white lacy color. There's only the tiniest bit of green on those leaves, and you can see it's on the ribs. And everything else just then goes this beautiful blushy pink color. And I know a couple of you that have reached out and said that you bought this specific Caladium because you saw it on this channel, and I cannot tell you how happy that makes me, because I know they're not that expensive anymore. They used to be a bit more pricey before, but they are truly, truly special plants, in my opinion at least. It's very few plants these days when I'm surrounded by this much kind of unusual tropical plant beauty do really kind of make me take a pause and just go, wow, that's really cool. This is one of them, and it's predominantly because, like, how do you survive? Because I got the white feather hosta, and I'll see if I can add a picture. If not, have a look on kind of Google. It is a hosta that comes in like a brilliantly kind of like white, almost like kind of creamy color leaves, and they stay that white all the way through most of the growing season, and then eventually they turn green and they're photosynthesized to put some of that energy back into the plant, I would imagine, for the next year. This one does not do this. There's a lot of plants that start off with very kind of pale leaves and eventually turn green. The example of, I don't know if you can see, there's a yellowing leaves on the one behind here, but the Philodendron Florida Ghost, that is one that starts off at a whitish, kind of creamish color, and eventually will dull down to like a green to help it photosynthesize. This doesn't do this, so this blows my mind how it survives, basically. It is very, very sensitive, and you can see now, even me trying to get it out, I've managed to rip it. It is paper thin. So, and I think, to be fair, most Caladiums tend to be on the thinner side, but I think this, even for those kind of Caladiums, is one that is very, very thin. Now, I'll wrap up by showing you the really cool plant that I got, which kind of has links into that kind of weird and unusual plants video that I did recently. Looky, looky! And hopefully that might focus. Does this ring any bells? This is my very own Pseudopanax ferox, and it was that kind of lance-shaped plant that grows, it kind of grows into a tree, basically, that's native to New Zealand. As I said, this is being sold in the garden centre, in the gardening section, not the houseplant section. So I need to do some more research on this, but there was, if the New Zealanders who were kind of commenting on that video and kind of mentioned potential Maori names, or that it wasn't a Maori name, that maybe kind of colloquial comes under one thing, and people that were giving more insights, thank you. I really appreciate my fans in New Zealand, basically. And yeah, this is a very cool plant, and I'm really hoping we start seeing this a bit more in the UK. I am going to put it back because I am also just realizing that this came with little friends from the garden centre, and I do not want them spending any more time than absolutely necessary in here. This has got aphids on it, and I am not dealing with an aphid infestation in here if I can help it. But yes, that was a little bit of a quick update, a bit of a frenetic update, but as I said, I'm catching up with a friend who I haven't seen for a while. So hopefully you've enjoyed. Let me know which one maybe surprised you, which one was your favourite. Did I miss any of them? And as I think that some of these updatey videos are ones that you're all enjoying, I never used to do these because I'm just sitting there going, do people really care that much? But I think a lot of you do. So I'm doing plants that I'm finding exciting and kind of like what's happening and all of these things at the moment. But if there are some that I've maybe talked about in the past and you want to see an update on them, do let me know in the comments down below, and I can add a little list so the next time I do one of those videos, I'll make sure to bring it up and show you. Some of them might just be clips or photos because some plants are not that easily movable, but I will do my best to give you a bit of an update. But yes, enough prattling on from me. Hopefully you've enjoyed, hopefully you have a good rest of the day, and hopefully I shall see you here very, very soon, or at the Malvern Spring Festival. See you then.